We are back on MorningLine. Thanks for joining us. We are talking about Veterans Day today, and some of the services out there. Operation Stand Down does a fantastic job locally here, and we're going to put up the number for you if you want to get more information or seek some services at the end of the program. John Crenson's with us, a veteran himself with Operation Stand Down, and you're just trying to get a handle for someone like me who has not served overseas and not been where you've been as a veteran, just how different it is. And you gave a great example of how the types of things that you don't encounter here in civilian life, thank goodness, in the wonderful country we live in where for the most part we're safe. You're there getting ready to fly out from where?
Yeah. So it was from my first tour. So this was 03, 04. So this would have been 04. We wrapped up our tour in Afghanistan, and we were a small unit, small team, so we were waiting to fly back to the States. And so we're in the hangar at Bagram Air Base, and it's probably about 2 in the morning. Half the group was asleep. The others of us were just reading. No major activity going on. And then all of a sudden you hear a rocket strike. And so the couple of us that were awake, we just kind of look around and trying to hear if there was another one, and there was not another one, so we just went right back about our business, waiting for our flight. Didn't wake folks up and didn't disturb them, and as long as there wasn't another one coming in, you just kind of get used to it. And it's amazing what the human spirit can adapt to.
It is. That really hits home, because it's kind of like if now you and I live here, and it might be a car backfires in front of your house. That's just nothing. Right. But you're talking about a rocket that, God forbid, had it hit where you guys were located, could have killed a lot of people.
Oh, for sure.
And yet, after that happens, because you're almost used to it, you just deal with it.
Yeah.
And so that, to me, kind of sets the stage for what it's like then to have to deal with adapting to come back here. You're to the point where you have been callous to the point where you can slough off. Not that you weren't on alert at that moment, but kind of just, rocket launch, okay, and there's not another one, let's get back to my book.
Right.
That's different. You come back, that's a mindset. And you come back stateside, and that's not there like that anymore. There has to be an adjustment.
Well, there is an adjustment, and I think that veterans can get back to that. So just as the human spirit can adjust to severe and austere circumstances in a combat zone, we can do the same thing in the civilian world if we have the right resources and we have the right connections and we develop that right mindset of resilience. If we're able to do that, then I don't want to be trite, but it can be no different. And in fact, we're in a safer place here. But it's there's a lot of different things going on. In civilian, you got multiple distractions, multiple demands. The world changes, and just the wide variety of what civilian world brings to it. Where again, if you're overseas, you're on one mission, you got one focus, you're with one team. But you can develop that resilience here in the civilian world just as well. But it takes being connected, and not just to veterans, but connected to the civilian community. It takes finding a sense of purpose, not just in your military service, but in the freedoms and the system. I mean, why fight in the first place if we don't have a system that's worth fighting for?
Right.
So you can find a purpose in any job that you do, because there's something in that job that is contributing to someone other than yourself. And if you can find that and open to find that, it is there. It is every bit there. But it takes sometimes that guidance or just that thought of, I got to put this behind, and I got to look forward and look ahead. And so that's part of it. Operation Stand Down. Our mission is connecting our veterans to resources and things like that, but it's also connecting veterans to our community.
Yeah.
And that's the trick. We don't want to just connect veterans always just to other veterans. That's a key component, but also connecting veterans to our community, because that's what we fought for to begin with, was our community. We have to be connected to it.
And they're a part of it.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
Let's take a call from Candy. Good morning, Candy. What's on your mind?
Good morning to you and your guests.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have a comment, if I can. I just want to thank the veterans and first responders. I just want them to know that I'm grateful, and thank you for protecting me. And you all have a blessed day.
All right, thank you. Yeah, it's very nice. I mean, and I think veterans maybe recognize that. People in this day and age do. They recognize the value and constantly are, expressing their how grateful they are to veterans who, in this, is an all-volunteer army.
That's right. That's right.
You volunteer to do it.
and it's a pendulum shift from the 70s, you know, and I came in at the tail end of a lot of that broad negativity toward the military. I remember in early parades, you know, the cat calls and, you know, being called names and those things. And then within a few years it had changed. And I think sometimes our veterans need to remember that there was a time when the civilian world wasn't always as expressive of their gratitude to us.
True.
And in fact, expressed quite the opposite. And it's uncomfortable being thanked all the time, and it's easy to say, well, you know, you don't really know what you're thanking me for, but on the other hand, a lot of people do know what they're thanking us for, because they may be the relative of a Vietnam veteran or a Korean War veteran, some who were chastised and others who were just simply forgotten about, such as from the Korean War era, you know, that's the silent war, the forgotten war. So veterans today can never take the gratitude that we receive for granted, and in fact I think we're obligated to accept it with humility, and to accept their gratitude with our own gratitude.
It's really changed, obviously, since Vietnam, and it was wrong from the very beginning when they would attack this. Because my take is, you can be viciously opposed to some politician's decision to go to war for a lot of good reasons. There have been a lot, in my opinion, bad wars. Okay, there's no such thing, in my opinion, as a good war, of course. Maybe World War II,
well,
and a few of these others. But I mean, people are dying, and that's not a good thing. But it's not the soldiers' decision whether they go or not. Okay, so how you can judge them? You support the soldier regardless. If you want to quibble with the politician that sends them somewhere, that's fine. But you can't. You didn't make a call where you went. You're not making a judgment. You are there to serve, and you go where your leaders send you. So, in my opinion, because of that, you support soldiers regardless of whether you agree with the conflict, because you're just doing your darn job.
Right.
Does that make sense to you? And I'm sure soldiers aren't inanimate objects that don't think. I mean, I'm sure there's sometimes soldiers that are over there in a certain conflict thinking, why am I here? But they still do their job. Right? And so they need to be supported, because they don't have a choice in this. They just have to go. And that's where you have to trust your leaders to make the right call.
Right. And, you know, in some ways we have the choice by being a volunteer army or volunteer service across the military. But you know, we have to have people willing to serve.
Yes.
And that might mean that sometimes we're sent to the wrong place for the wrong thing at the wrong time. But if everybody were to not serve because of that, then
you can't make those decisions.
We'd be exposed.
Yourself,
So fortunately, we have people who are willing to say, you know, whatever the political
you have to
winds
trust in
are,
the judgment of your leaders.
Yes, that's right. I'm here to serve my country.
You serve that. And that's why it was just an awful thing that happened after Vietnam. There may have been reasons why you were against the Vietnam War, but certainly you don't blame the soldiers for that.
Right. Oh, certainly not.
I just never saw that. Well, listen, in the final moments we have, I just want to make sure we let people know how to contact you. And again, the services that are available through Operation Stand Down, if you're a veteran who needs it, are free, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're a nonprofit, and the money, I guess, you're funded by what? Donations?
Yeah, about half of our funds come from the federal government, VA, other programs like that, and about half of our funding comes from donors, from events, and people who are willing to support us out of their own means, and really to help us with our transition services and our prevention services is where we need that private fund. There are no federal grants for those services, yet that's where you get the most bang for your buck.
I've seen Operation Stand Down fundraisers, and I know that too, which is a frustration to me. There's sometimes those posing as raising money. Is there a way you can be certain when you see some of the folks out there fundraising for you that they're legitimate, that they are indeed with Operation Stand Down? Because there, like in a lot of things, there are scam artists out there, but
there are.
How would you suggest it when you see one of those set up somewhere?
Yeah, and you can always check our website, or check our Facebook page, because all of our events are on our website or on our event space page or Facebook page. So if you see them there, then you can be pretty reliable that it's ours. And 86 cents of every dollar, or 84 cents rather, of $80 that comes in to Operation Stand Down Tennessee goes right back into our veteran programs.
That's pretty awesome. That's a pretty high level.
That is an exceptional level.
And trust me,
we're very proud of that.
Whenever I hear that someone says, "Oh, our charity 100% goes," that's baloney. I don't expect the money I give to be 100% going to a source, and neither should you if you're a donor. It takes money to raise money, okay? And there needs to be a staff that produces the resources to go out and raise the money. So I don't have a problem with some of my donation going to support that and get paid people for what they do. But when it's that high of a level, that's a
high
pretty
level.
good number.
70 cents is been determined to be, that's a good number. If somebody says 70 cents or more, they're a responsible organization, and we seek to be an exceptional organization when it comes to our stewardship.
You budget for it and you find a way.
Absolutely.
And so among other things then, when they come though and they do walk in or they seek the services, all right, when you just talk about whether it's just going to one of these gatherings, the Redneck Riviera, can you help them find work? Is there a jobs board?
We do. We have career services. We
resumes, things like that.
Help with resumes, mock interviews, getting them to networking events, teaching them how to do networking.
What if someone comes in with a drug abuse problem?
We can help with that too. So we will look, first we will look to the VA and the programs they've got established, because those are there. And then if we are running into some gaps there, then we have professionals on staff that can then direct them to the next best services for that.
And as far as shelter, if they're homeless and they're beginning to try to seek to get back on their feet again, is that where you work with, say, the mission, or what can you do for shelter to get them started?
Yeah, so we have a transitional housing program.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Which is part of our core service that's developed over time. So we have 7 houses with 42 beds for our homeless veterans that are looking to get back on their feet. Structured program. Average length of stay is about 5 to 6 months or so, and that's been a very successful. It used to be about 2 years, and but because we're catching veterans early in a cycle of homelessness, then they're better prepared to get back on their feet and sustain that. So we've been very excited to see that go from 2 years to about 6 months just over the last 4 or 5 years. And the really good news too, Nick, is that homelessness in Nashville, we've got a ways to go before we can really say that we've eliminated it, which basically would mean, hey, if we identify you as a homeless veteran, we've got a path so you can get into to housing quickly, within 3 to 6 months or so. But right now we probably have about identified 205 or so, I think is the last number I saw, about 205 homeless veterans, and about 80 to 90 of those are in programs like ours. Okay. And which means the balance are not. And that's where we still got a gap that we got to work to try to get that down. I'd love to see us get to a point where we've got, I can identify you today as a homeless veteran, get you under roof, and then get you in permanent housing and on your own within 3 months.
Wow.
And the city's working hard. Judith Tackett is a great partner of ours at the Homeless Impact Division for Metro Nashville. She's passionate about this, and we're working hard together. We're looking forward to work with the next administration to see, we've gotten down to that low 200s. How do we now bring that down to the capacity that we have for our transitional housing, where any veteran can be on a path to a housing solution within months? Yeah,
and I know Operation Stand Down started with the whole housing
That's exactly
issue.
right.
But as you said, you've evolved over the years to the point where you serve others and outside of just the homelessness issue.
That's right.
So there could be a veteran out there, a woman or a man who's in a family situation that is dealing with some issues. Maybe they have a house, maybe they even have a job, but they're just feeling like they're slipping.
Yeah.
They can come in as well.
Absolutely.
All right, so that's the key. There may be some there, and they may be noticing, okay, maybe there's issues with the marriage, or you're not being able to deal with your kids the way you once did, or you're struggling at work. So you may still have some of that infrastructure. You're not that far gone yet, but you feel it coming on maybe from a trigger point.
Exactly.
Seek that out as well. Operation Stand Down is not just for the homeless veterans.
That's exactly right. And it could be too that you have a relative or a friend who's leaving active service, and they're either coming back home or coming to the Nashville community for the first time, and they just say, where do I get started?
Okay.
Get started at Operation Stand Down Tennessee. We can just harness that value they bring to our community and get them right on their path.
John, it's awesome.
Nick,
thank you.
Always.
You guys
Thank you.
We'll have you on whenever, and any of your events, you always let us know. I think it's Operation Stand Down does a great job, and you're terrific, by the way. You're really good on air. You tell a good story.
Well, we have a great story to tell.
Yeah,
we have a great story to tell, so it's easy. It's easy for me.
That's exactly right. Well, thanks for coming on, and we'll see you out at the parade, perhaps.
I'll be out there.
That's
I'll look
at
for
11 o'clock this morning. We'll take a break. When we come back, I'll make sure, as we say goodbye to him, to put up the number again for you if you need to get that information on Operation Stand Down. We'll be right back.